Hello, good afternoon. This is Commander Danny Vega coming to you from in the middle of nowhere in the Hawkins Gap region. I'm broadcasting live from the Kitsune Mario Mark II by Imperial Clipper, and we're gonna go ahead and do some more exploring. But unlike the other streams, I am going to talk about something. That's pretty loud. Alright, as my computer starts to plot a route, what I'm going to be talking about on this stream is about lore. And in particular, elite lore. Not just elite dangerous lore, but the lore from like many years ago when the first iteration of Elite started. If you guys don't know, Elite Dangerous is like a sequel, sort of. It's the only Elite game that's started in the 21st century. But back in the 20th century, saying 1984, there was the first game called Elite, made by David Braben and I don't know much of the names. Ian Bell, I think, Michael Brooks. Oh, that was fast. 108 jumps left. My destination.
Thrusters online.
So, one thing about me, I really like the lore. The lore is the, sort of the bread and butter. It's the story that supports the game, supports why we do the things in Elite Dangerous. It's just like, say for another game like Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty has, all these guns, you got these operators or soldiers on the battlefield. But if you just play multiplayer, you just, have no context of like why you're fighting bad guys or fighting the other team, but then like you stick with the lore or the campaign. If you know what the story is in the campaign, then you have sort of idea like the motivations of what certain characters do. Or like if you do sort of like a role play, it's like Call of Duty is not much of a role playing game. It's just first person shooter, multiplayer. So it's not really a good example, but like with lore, like one YouTuber I usually watch is Ink Slasher. He really takes like the campaign, like what happens in the campaign, and then things in the multiplayer maps, even the multiplayer maps, like he has this ongoing idea that there's it's everything is linked, so to speak. Where these certain I think it's mostly to do with updates, like upcoming updates, like we got this map, but then like during the cutscene we see elements of this map from other games, and then like I don't know if that really explains lore, but like with Elite, so my thing is below the horizon, so I have to go to Super Cruise. Elite, since it's set in the Milky Way galaxy and set in the most of the lore is going to be within the bubble, so that's that's the cradle of humanity, and that's where most of the stories in Elite take place. They have their beginnings there. One such one part of lore that I really liked that I was part of in game was the story about a imperial senator from the prison system. Her name is Kahina Tajani Lauren, or her other name was Salome. Now, if you're much into tinfoil and like, or just into lore, or you've read Drew Wager's books, Reclamation and Premonition, there's 2 books out for Elite Dangerous, and if you ever get a chance, like, I think they're on Audible. I know they're on Amazon Kindle. You know, sort of, you know, you get your books. I'm pretty sure there's a paperback version, but whatever version you get, like, take a read. Like, much of it happens from the start of the game, when the game first started, where it was 3300. This is basically 2014 when the game started, and like I just recently, like a few days ago, I just finished watching episode 6 of the Lord Horror, Drew Wager's Lord Horror. This particular one was talking about Galcop. Galcop is a collective corporation or something, or it's the stories of the old colonies, you know, the beginning colonies. If you look and like for Elite, the first game, Elite in 1984, I wasn't even born yet. There were systems. There were systems in that game. That game, like Lave. If you've been playing Elite, Lave is a familiar system. Tionisla, Reort, Requat, I think they were all in the old game of Elite. And this stream, it was a stream. The Lord Horror is a stream. I think it's every Saturday or something like that on Twitch. But this stream, episode 6, it's on YouTube if you want to catch it. Talking about Galcop, or the old colonies, and like just the, like, without these stories, this galaxy would be an empty shell. It would be not as lived in, like, you know, lived in meaning like, oh, there's people living their daily lives, you know, there's criminals trying to get by, evading the authorities and all that stuff. There's people who, like, you know, who just have regular careers as, you know, miners, traders, and then there's the spooky, mysterious stuff like Raxlow, or like when it has to do with aliens or the Guardians or the Thargoids. Like the Galcop story does sort of like have a hand in that part of the story of the Thargoids. If I'm not gonna be like reciting each and every one story. It's best if you watch it and get the lore from, I think his name was David, and his commander name was Commander Selazin. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Yes. All right, and then what I did want to talk about was like an hour and a half into the stream, just like David is the one who's talking. He's the guest of the show for that episode 6, and he just, like, you know, he gets a chance to have some constructive criticism towards the maker of the game, Frontier Developments, and touch upon like lore, and like, is there lore in this day and age? Like, when the game started, 2014, there was like so much like platforms of lore to like bounce ideas off of, and then like you have Galnet, which provides sort of like the background lore, um, or like news from the bubble usually, and like Galnet's one part, and then you have like the superpowers, which fills in like the political side of the elite story. And then you have all this lore. You have the community goals, which has players actually participating in something that will either turn the tide of like, oh, will this happen, or will this not happen? And then recently we had the initiatives or something like that. It was in Beyond, I believe. It was sort of like community goals, but it wasn't a weekly thing, more like a monthly thing. So there was that. But then come like 2019 to 2020, which in game it's 3305, 3306 respectively. There was not much lore being produced. There was not much stories being made, created. There was Galnet like shut down. We only have one new article, and that was like from last week. It was sort of to bring sort of the life into the game. So it's not just ships and combat and exploring and just a gameplay aspect, but more like a role-playing aspect. If I go back to the role-play aspect of it, role-playing wise, like every player out there who has a commander account is a commander who occupies this Milky Way in one shape or another. Like just with recently, the DSSA, the Deep Space Support Array, it's bringing commanders with these large ships into far reaches of the galaxy. There's fleet carriers in Beagle Point, there's fleet carriers in Colonia, there's fleet carriers in the center of the galaxy. When just like 3 years ago, most of that activity, it was in the bubble. So back again, like with this, it was sort of like a rant. He was ranting why Frontier Developments has more or less given up on lore, given up on the role-playing aspect, not providing stories for commanders to build stories upon. And it's sort of in a sense, like when I was listening to it, was sort of in the sense that Frontier was taking a step back and sort of allowing, I would say in my mind, allowing the players of the game, the commanders, with ships flying to and fro in the galaxy, to make up their own stories. But this, the problem with that, not everybody is a storyteller like Drew Wager or Commander Salazar. Not everybody is like a good streamer like Josh Hawkins or Commander Scorpius, or nobody's has that humor like Turgeon, or no, not a lot of commanders are able to create content, as in like write stories, make videos, like yes, the commanders could make their own stories, but how's it gonna be distributed amongst the player base? How's other commanders going to participate in that sort of story? And is there anything new that Frontier have its sleeve that they could help support the story? I don't know. I'm just like sort of ranting too right now, but like, um, he was actually he wrote some missions or some code with Oolit. Oolit spelled Oolite. It's like Elite, except you replace the E with two O's. And it's a fan made, sort of like a GTA 5 mods 5M thing. But it was the old Elite made into a modern gameplay setting where, you know, it's not just black background with wireframe models, but the planets, the ships, all had, you know, still had the blocky retro kind of shapes, but they had there was like more depth. Like there's textures on the planets, there's textures on the ship shapes, and then there's things that, you know, we would like in Elite Dangerous that was included. Namely, it was the Tianizla orbital graveyard. This sort of thing is not included in Elite. It's not a POI in Tianizla, where like where it's located, it's halfway between the star and the first planet, where, you know, there's this lore. It was actually the Dark Wheel. There's a novella called The Dark Wheel about Alex Rider and Alicia. I think those are like the two main characters. They infiltrate this graveyard. This graveyard is like derelict ships, or like ships interred, sort of like a they liken it to a celebrity's cemetery, or, you know, if you've been a like dashing pilot, if you've been like, you know, somebody who's changed lives, saved lives in the galaxy, you and your ship would be interred there. Oh, it takes so long just to scan the system, but, you know, I'm talking along the way. So, Tianizla orbital graveyard. It's not Elite Dangerous, but, you know, fans really would want. And then they just said, like, oh, like, what's the purpose of a POI like that, where it's filled with ships like Anacondas, old Cobras, and patrols, like active patrols, like patrolling the graveyard, you know, so, you know, nobody gets the wiser and tries to hijack a ship from the graveyard, which happens in the Dark Wheel, in actuality. But what, like, they argued, like, is it just a POI? Is it like just a place where, you know, you jump down from Super Cruise and you just, you know, browse the ships that are just resting in 0G and back into space, or is there a gameplay aspect to it? Is there a gameplay aspect to it? Like, can we steal a ship? Can we steal a ship just like Alex Rider did, or something? Like, there was like a sort of like, man, 40 again? I only jumped to one system, man. I'm trying to get to freaking the DSSA Ironside. There's so many bodies I have to scan. Okay. Hopefully I'll get to going right now. So, like, yeah, so there was much lore there, but then, you know, there's lore in, like, you know, like, voice recordings, audio logs, that I found like with many tourist beacons and installations out in Elite Dangerous in the Milky Way. Some you have to, you have to travel far to in order to scan them. And then, like, that's one thing I will touch upon when I talk about roleplay. Um, so, oh wow, that's a very oblong gas giant. So yeah, so they they were they were ranting, or he was ranting. Commander Salazin was ranting, but he was ranting because he had a reason to rant. He had a reason to complain to FDev that the players want lore. We don't really are looking for new content. Like, even though space legs and atmospheric landings and be able to walk around the ship would be nice, but what's the purpose of all this new content if there's no lore to back it up? Like with the fleet carriers, there was like a roleplay aspect where, like, oh, I had this idea where, like, oh, what, like, why is this Brewer Corporation? Why are they, like, who is supporting them financially to build these massive, like, if you're not in the news of Elite Dangerous, there's been a study, not really a study, where, like, just looking at stats of the game. I believe it's I don't know. It's an internal observation. There are over 10,000 fleet carriers purchased since the update went live. There's 10,000 commanders with fleet carriers in their arsenal. So that's 10,000. Just saying with the money, man. 5 billion times 10,000. Someone do the math and put it in the chat if you're able to do it. Do put in the chat, and if I'm able to see it on the chat, because this overlay is buggy. Just today, I'm able to see I'm running 22 minutes, and I have one watcher, one viewer. Hello. Oh, sorry, I'm sort of ranting right now, but sorry. Welcome to my stream. I'm Commander Danny Vega. I'm talking about lore right now while scanning. It's taking really long to do so. I'm only on my second system, and I'm like 20 more bodies to scan. So I'm like, what's it called? I'm like, it's a bucky bind, but not really. It's like bucky bind, but doing with the FSS scanner. So, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, fleet carriers, man. The fleet carriers. There's over 10,000 fleet carriers in the game right now. And then, some of them will be decommissioned when people don't have the necessary funds to provide maintenance or whatever, or like, because each services like refueling, repairing, outfitting, universal cartographers, they need money every week, or they take out credits every week, and if you don't have enough credits, you have your fleet carrier decommissioned, and then, well, it's a lengthy process. I'm not going to go into that. So, I'm going this way. So, yeah, for the fleet carriers, like, where's the lore behind that? Where's the story supporting that? Like, it was sort of like came out of nowhere. Like, say for a regular commander, like, oh snap! Like, this Brew Corporation is making, like, have dry docks with fleet carriers in them. Like, where are they getting all this money to build these massive ships? Like, who is funding them? This is, I would say, like, in the role playing standpoint, that is the club. Look it up on the Elite Dangerous Wikipedia. The club is probably the only people, well, the only individuals in the galaxy, lore-wise, that are financially, you know, able to fund manufacture of 10,000 fleet carriers. I'm not sure. Like, the update has only been with us for a month, and then in just a month, there's 10,000 fleet carriers. Like, wow, you must have some robotic force or robotic assembly lines to be able to manufacture, like the Imperial Navy, the Federation Navy. I bet you they don't have as much ships as 10,000. That's like Emperor Palpatine in Rise of the Skywalker, who came up with a fleet of Imperial Star Destroyers in a hidden part of the galaxy. Like, what? That is probably the parallel, the most relatable thing to this massive number of fleet carriers. But it's not one fleet of fleet carriers belongs to a single person. It's 10,000 commanders who have these fleet carriers. So yeah, so where's the lore behind all that? Like, where's the story supporting that? There's no Galnet articles saying like, oh, like Brewer Corporation, I don't know. So like, there would be a good, like, just a Galnet article, 5-paragraph Galnet article, talking about like, oh, the mass production of fleet carriers is like, oh my gosh, and then DSSA, it would be really good. This is just a player initiative, a player-based initiative, the DSSA, but it would be nice if like FDev or the writers at FDev acknowledge this initiative and put it in game as a lore-based article on Galnet. Otherwise, we have to go to Frontier Forums for our lore, and there's a sort of separation. You're not really role-playing at that point. You're just playing a game and finding out news from it from an outside source. Okay, looks like I have a water wall there. So, getting something for my efforts. Okay. With lore aside, with FDev not really upping their game on the lore, I do want to talk about role-playing. Like, so like, if you play Elite Dangerous, if you have a commander, you have a fleet of ships, you're basically a citizen of the Milky Way. And I do need to find this thing before I leave this system. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Yes!
System scan complete.
Ooh. Mostly nitrogen, no oxygen, so you can't live here. Well, you probably can't live there, but you need oxygen, right? So roleplay, like, what was I saying? Like, so if you play Elite Dangerous, if you fly a ship and whatever career you have, exploration, combat, pirate's a career. If you only are a simple trader, you're a miner like everybody who's looking for the triple, quadruple, low temperature diamond hotspots in the rings. Like, basically, if you're looking for that stuff, you're a prospector. Then you're a miner if you actually partake in the extraction of those commodities. So, like, there is this image where I'm not sure who on the name of who made it, but there's this list of all these careers that are currently within Elite. Well, some of those careers are not as lucrative as others, like, exploration we'll net you a lot of money, but you have to put in some work. But with like, you know, low temperature diamond void opal core mining, you put in a little bit of work, but you get more yield in your profits. More yield in your profits when after a certain time. Like, you know, go to Down to Earth Astronomy. he has the tutorials on how you make millions of dollars, billions of dollars in 2 hours time. Me, I'm in for the long run. I just do exploring. I scanned systems and map more valuable planets in order to get money that I sell at the fleet carrier, which I'm heading to right now. This is the third system I'm gonna go to.
4, 3, 2, 1.
It's a role play. Like, if you, as I said again, if you play Elite Dangerous, if you have a commander, and whatever you do with that commander, you are a citizen of the Milky Way, and you are playing a role. You're role playing. Like, but you know, role playing. You know, role playing is different to some people. Like, you know, like you can, like, once you turn on your game console, your PC, and you play this commander. To some people, they play the commander right as they play, but you know, they have a more like outside. You're like, oh, this is me. I'm a human being playing this character in game, and when I'm done, I'm done. When I turn off the console, when I turn on the PC, when I turn off the game, like, I'm not that person anymore. You know, there's some people like me. I would see like me where, like, even when I turn off the game, even when I log off, Danny Vega, the commander I embody in Elite Dangerous, like, he doesn't like shut down like a robot. He doesn't shut down like some piece of software or hardware. Like, he is still Commander Danny Vega. He's probably just asleep at his chair, or just sleeping in his bunk in his Empirica, the Kitsune Maru 2. So, like, you know, there's like the role play aspect is it's just a big thing, bigger thing to some people. Like, or it's a big thing. It's like why this game exists. Where, you know, I myself, I'm a commander living in a world where, you know, like, I can jump, like, well, currently I can jump 45 light years at a time from system to system. And, like, the knowledge I know of the galaxy, like, I myself, like, the player, I myself, the player, knows about Raxla. You know, stories about Raxla, stories about Inra, stories about Salome and all her machinations, all her endeavors, escapades. I know about, you know, like, the Thargoids, all about the lore. What does my commander know? If you go to Codex and you go to knowledge base, or no, not knowledge base, where you go to, like, this database where you have scanned these certain audio logs, not video logs, audio logs, voice logs, or just text logs. Basically, you know, all the tourist spots, tourist beacons, listening posts, whatever you have in that. So if you play Elite Dangerous and you're in this version right now, if you go to that section where you can look at all the audio logs that you've scanned since the Beyond update, I think, where it was there's a new like layout rather than the old layout. Whatever you have there is basically what your commander knows. Like, you like, you can't claim to have your commander, like say, I can't claim my commander, Commander Danny Vega, to know about all about Raxa, know about all these things if he hasn't been to those locations to as proof that he knows it. He's visited it, he's scanned it, he's read it, he's listened to it. Like, I don't have much logs, but I really do want to fill in that roleplay aspect where, you know, like, I know more about what my commander knows. But I do want to, like, you know, since, you know, there are tourist beacons out there, there are listening posts, there are these mysterious logs and these installations in the galaxy. Like, all he has to do is just all I have to do is direct into it, and he scans it, and then he knows. That's my take on it. Like, your take could be different, and that's okay. Like, I'm not here to dictate or tell you how you should play Elite. But it's sort of my personal guideline that I might know all these things about Elite Dangerous, all the background lore, everything that's in Galnet. But if my commander hasn't listened to any of them or partaken in any of them, then he just doesn't. Okay, oh, there's it's taken so long. There's only 11 left. Alright, there's nothing. There was only ice boxes in there. I gotta pay attention. Pay attention or we're gonna run out of fuel. Okay. So, still going on about roleplay, the roleplay aspect. If you have a commander, I suggest you do a backstory. You do a backstory, like, you know, I've been looking for a new episode of Fly Assist podcast, and lately there's no new episodes. There's only Commander Psyche, Commander Mal for the Win, Commander Crispy Tater Tot. Just those, and then, like, those are just 3 commanders with you know, like, they do have a question there where, like, oh, like, where does your commander lay his head or her head, or like where do you usually, you know, do your business, like, not like bathroom, do your career thing, like are you out in the black exploring, or are you doing Thargoid combat, are you doing BGS, so, like, or, like, you know, like, to some there's like a fully fleshed out backstory. I myself am working on the backstory of Commander Danny Vega. Working on his origins. His origins is kind of hard, and I'm trying to be not fluent, but trying to be relatable to the actual lore. Where I can't claim that Danny Vega experienced something when it never happened in game, or when it never happened in the lore or the history before 3300. So I'm trying to, you know, I'm not sure of the word. I'm trying to be congruent. There's something about continuity, since I'm majored in film. There's a continuity, and if I put a continuity area, that's on me. So I do not want. I want to stray away from putting something that isn't supported by lore. So, from what I just came up with, I'm still working on it. This is a work in progress. Commander Danny Vega was not named Danny Vega when he was born. fact, he was born on a planet that had near Earth gravity, so near the gravity of 1G. He was born to parents who either left him, abandoned him, or like, I would say from what I've came up with from his birth to his childhood, Danny Vega was most likely either neglected or abandoned, where it led to him growing up on the streets, led to him stealing food from market vendors, then getting caught and then put into an orphanage. And I'm not sure where in the galaxy this is. So like, when new players start out in Elite Dangerous,
Frameshift drive charging.
When new players start as a new commander in Elite Dangerous, they start out in LHS 3447, which is one of the starting systems.
3, 2,
They start in LHS 3447 as one of the starting systems, and they're given, well, back then you were given a Sidewinder. Nowadays you're given a Sidewinder or an Eagle. Nice. That's fine. Yeah, you were given either a Sidewinder or an Eagle, and you were given like a small sum of money to just start your career off as whatever you choose. I think from the start you have to do missions, you have to do some sort of trading, some data couriering. You have to be a data courier. But you don't start off like as a baby, or you don't start off like as a kid in a test tube. You start off as an adult, because like if you look in your headlock mode, you have basically adult size arms, adult size legs. If you're a female, you can actually see your those things. This is Teen Stream, man. I can't say that, dude. Right now I'm wearing a vest, or like the outfits, so it doesn't look like a flight suit, but my legs are not adorned with the boots because I don't like the look of the boots, so I just opted for the flight suit from the waist down. But yeah, so this is not no child. This is no, that's a double negative. This is no child flying this ship. This is an adult male, with adult arms, adult size legs, adult chest. Or if I just can show you right here. What is it? Oh yeah, here. Oh no, not that one. If you go inside the cockpit, does that look like? Oh, well, it could be a really big teenager, really big 18-year-old or something like that. But this is an adult. This is no kid, man. This is no kid flying a ship that you have to be a baron or baroness in order to fly.
Frameshift drive charging.
Oh wait, I'm not done here. I haven't scanned yet. Okay. I'm pretty far too. Good thing about this is just have to. It's all in one place. You don't have to look for anything. Okay, so yeah, so what I'm trying to get to, like, when you start the game off and you're stationed at LHS 3447, you're given a Sidewinder or an Eagle if you're in this new era. You start off as an adult, but your backstory, your like what has happened to your commander before that? Like how did he become a pilot? How did he get to the system? How did he, where was he born? Did he have a mom? Did he have a dad? Did he have both parents? Did he have They have a good childhood, they have a bad childhood. There's this article, I'm not sure. It's like Remlock Industries. Sort of Remlock is the suit that all commanders wear, I believe. Most commanders wear. There's a website where like it says role playing in Elite Dangerous. I think it was called. I think it was more for like if you're playing EDRPG, which is a tabletop RPG game, but it's set in the Elite Dangerous universe. So, but still, you can take elements of that. You can take, like, I haven't played. I have the game actually. I have the manuals, but I haven't played it. I have no people to play it with. I usually just I bought it with the intention of using the lore that's within it, but that's another like role playing aspect. What I'm trying to get at is, what am I trying to get at? I'm trying to get at like, oh, like, what has your commander done when he's not flying in a ship and jumping from system to system? Because mainly in Elite Dangerous, that's all you do. You're sitting in a chair. You're sometimes sitting in a chair in SRV, but most of the time you're sitting in a chair, piloting the ship through star systems and through witch space, which is our version of hyperdrive. But what does he do when he's not doing that? What does he do when you log off? Does he sleep, or does he go into like a state of suspended animation? How about when he goes to a station? Does he just sit in the ship all day, or does he actually exit his ship, go to the nearest bar or canteen and have a drink? Does he partake in the whatever entertainment certain outpost has? Yes, role playing, man. Like that's the thing I'm interested in. Like, I know, like, we're potentially going to have a Space Legs next year, 2021, with Elite Dangerous Odyssey. But is there anything? Well, is there a gameplay? What gameplay aspects would there be if we're given Space Legs? Are we gonna get sort of RPG elements? Like, when I say RPG elements, what's that? I would say an RPG element is like eating, eating, drinking, going to the bathroom, for lack of a better option.
System scan complete.
Basically, elements where your character is, I don't know, living in as a actual person, not just as an avatar or not just an avatar or I'm done. Next system, please. Oh wait, one check. I don't know what's that. Okay, not that system yet. Oh, 4,000 away, really? Yeah, because I got distracted, that's why. So, yeah. So, when we have a Space Legs, like, what are we gonna do? Are we just gonna be like those two individuals on that atmospheric planet, just watching an anaconda fly over them and land on the landing pad? What is there else? I know there's gonna be more videos detailing like what you can and can't do yet. So yes, the roleplay elements. Like, oh yeah, I guess if I want to, this is sort of speculative. It's not really based in what what FDEP is going to do. It'd be nice if they did, but things like elements, the like a roleplay aspect that I would want if we had space legs is one, a good thing. To get out of my seat and actually have an animation where I actually get out of my seat. I don't teleport somewhere else. I don't teleport to the galley or to the cargo bay or anything using a menu. I would like to actually get out of my seat and have an animation of me getting out of my seat and just getting to my feet, standing up, and then going to, let's say, going through that door, having that door open however it was going to open, and see what's behind there, not see like what we see in VR. I would like to, if I dock at the station or a fleet carrier, say for a station, I would like to get out of my seat, go through that door behind me, go to the docking bay, or I'm not sure for the Imperial Clipper. I think I exit through the back or through the side, but exit the ship somehow, land my feet, like if we're in like a 0G environment or a low G environment, float like a butterfly to the hangar or the hangar floor, go through a door and not just go through like an endless, like textureless corridor, and then somehow make it into a new room. Not like a No Man's Sky thing. If you played No Man's Sky, that's how it is. If you get your what's it called, the freighter, you go from the hangar bay to the, what's it called, to the command deck. That's how it is. Sort of not textureless, but it's like bleh. It's like no content. There's no variation. It's just like it's like witch space.
Surface scan complete.
It's all texture or whatever. So I'm done. Yeah, done. Next, on to the next. So that's for like a station. Like, is there like an observation deck where I can? It'll be good if there was an observation deck. You know that if you're in a Coriolis or an orbit station, there's this tall spire at the very end where it's jutting out from the inside of the cylinder. I want to be able to take an elevator from the base of that to the point where there should be an actual observation there where you can watch the traffic come and go from the station, and have it actually be like live, where there's another player. If you're playing in open, or you're in the PG like I am, I want to be able to watch them just dock their ship. Oh, I'm getting lag latency issues here. Yeah, and then the fleet carrier, I want to be able to get out of my ship, go to the hangar, or go to some place in the fleet carrier I'm allowed to go, or like they say there's many services, refueling. Well, most of the services you can do in the hangar which is kind of weird because like all your interface is in the ship, so you don't leave the ship anyway. So that'll be kind of redundant if you actually want to have a face-to-face service. Like, oh, I want to refuel my ship. Oh, I want to buy something from a ship, and not go through the interface that's on the ship. Is there anything in this system? Yes, there was. Yeah. So. Well, here's another thing. Like, if I had space legs and we're on a surface base, but it's the atmospheric, non-atmospheric planet, and you go to those surface bases which have the skyscrapers, I want to be able to go into that skyscraper and, at the very least, just enter through a drab lobby go to an elevator, and actually, I'm not sure if there's elevators on the outside, but in either case, just go to like an observation deck and watch. This is just like the station one. So yeah, I should have all the Astra clusters now. So yeah. Also, this stream is actually a test. Like, I hear that Mixer is shutting down July 22nd, and they're moving everything. Well, like to those who do want to move, not to Twitch or YouTube, but to something supporting Mixer. Mixer is like teaming up with Facebook Gaming, I believe. I'm not sure how that's gonna work, but I've already made a page on Facebook as a video game creator, not video game creator, like game video creator. I'm not sure how the Mixer interface, like Mixer on Xbox, where I can stream just like this. Is it gonna go Is it gonna go onto my Mixer, which still exists, or is it gonna go to my Facebook Gaming? So this is sort of a test. I'm testing to see if this stream actually gets posted on there, or if I have to do it manually, or if there's gonna be a service to me as a streamer, not a well-known streamer, but just a streamer nonetheless. Is there going to be a service that allows, that process this stream straight onto that Facebook page or whatever? I think, once it shuts down on July 22nd, they are going to have some tutorials, I believe, or they're going to have, in the coming weeks after that, they'll have support for streamers who want to who still want to stream via Mixer. Oh wow, that's a first. I have 2 viewers right now. Hello, I'm Commander Danny Vega. I'm broadcasting to you from Hawkins Gap. If you don't believe me, this is Hawkins Gap, right here. It says so, right there. That's where I am right now. It was the knowledge base. So I did talk. If you go back in the stream, no, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. This one, archive. Oh, that's what it was called, the archive. So the archive is, to me, the knowledge what Commander Dan Vega knows about, and not a lot actually. He just knows abandoned settlements and all these tourist beacons. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more that you like. Sometimes you have to travel in order to get to that certain lore. I'm sort of talking about lore in this stream, so I'm talking about lore, what Elite Dangerous has regarding lore, the lack of lore nowadays, and currently right now I was talking about like role-playing aspects, role-playing elements. Like we're potentially gonna get, because that's up in the air, potentially going to get space legs in 2021, 3307. So what roleplay aspects or roleplay elements, gameplay elements can we expect if we have space legs?
4, 3, 2, 1.
And I did touch upon. Like, if I have space legs, I want to be able to get out of my seat, go to the engine bay, and tinker. Oh, that's another thing. I want to be able to actually do an EVA. EVA is a external something activity or something. EVA is basically when you go out of your ship in spaces. Like for an astronaut, they go out of the space station or whatever, space shuttle. There's no space shuttles around anymore. But they go out of the ship in order to do work on the exterior of the ship or exterior of the station. So that would be good. I had this one. I was watching, I think, the Burr Pit. I was watching Burr Pit on YouTube, just their Witch Space News, and they had this visual where, you know, I haven't partaken this before, but you can actually like using limpets, you can eject canisters of commodities from stations, not stations, but like big, large installations, which doesn't have a docking bay. Oh, this has a lot. It's not a lot. So I want to. This is sort of like Space Legs, but like in 0G, where I could park my ship somewhere, have it like sort of on silent running, where my engines are off and I'm not gaining heat from silent running, so I park my ship and then like I go to like a cargo bay or cargo bay door on the installation, and then just using an interface with my hands. Like I'm floating there, I work with the interface. There's a little puzzle there, or what have you, like a little mini game. And on a success, I'm able to open the door. I'm able to eject. I'm able to eject canisters from the cargo bay door, one by one, and silently, sort of like when you talk about silent with scanners. My reasoning is that the hotter you are, the more heat you generate, you're gonna show up on the scanner. That's why when you're in combat, and either if you're out of range, if you go out of range of someone's target lock, they lose target lock. Or if you are in combat, you engage your heat sink, and you flush all your heat into a I would say like a slug. It's basically what's ejected from the heat sink. Then your heat drops down to 0, and the target lock of whoever's targeting you is lost. Sort of like, but like in that sense where, like with limpets that are controlled or who are collectors, they have a little thruster, and that generates heat, and that can be targeted by you or anybody else, and be shown on the scanner. But if I'm there with a canister, and this is 0G, I can literally push the canister into the cargo hold of my ship, with some risk involved. I can do that silently, but it'd be hard work though. It's not as easy as just inputting a limpet to unlock the door and getting another limpet to collect the canister and then have it ferry it into my ship. So that's a sort of aspect that I would like to see, like actually using Space Legs to do some of the riskier things and have some more risk involved. So, oh sorry, I'm stuck on this thing. I think some people are watching this just for the visual aspect of it, but you know, as I said, David, he's Commander Salazin. He touched upon that Elite Dangerous has been mostly visual. Eye candy or content, and not much substance. Sort of like Drew Wager did say that Elite Dangerous and its largeness is a huge canvas where, you know, it's visually appealing, but where's the story to back it up? So, you know, touching upon lore. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the episode 6 of Drew Wager's Lore He has a guest on there. It's Commander Selizin, I believe. He was the writer. He was the writer for the Galcop, for the old colonies part of the lore, the backstory of that, like Galcop and all that. I haven't done much reading into Galcop. Maybe I'll do. Okay. Let's see here. I'm getting a lot of viewers, man. I had a viewer that would stay for about 10 minutes. All the other ones would stay for a minute, maybe less, but that's okay. If I'm boring you, just put in my chat that I bore you, and I'll take it as constructive criticism. Okay. Was I talking about my commander? Oh yeah, I was talking about my commander. I was talking about Commander Danny Vega. So he started out as an orphan. So basically he's an orphan. I don't know what happened to his parents. Either they died and they perished in an accident, or they just simply abandoned him, neglected him, and basically left him alone to his own devices. Yeah. There's one more. So after rushing into his own devices, he grows up on the streets, becomes a pickpocket or whatever. He wants to eat, and tries to take something from market vendor. He gets caught by police, and then he gets interred into a orphanage. And at this orphanage, he's sort of like an outcast. He's aloof, meaning that his mind is in a different place. He rarely participates in like group activities. He only shows up for meals. He just goes back to his bunk. He's sort of like a kid prisoner, sort of like. But then like he was left abandoned, so like he had no hope. Come when he was 10 years old, though. This is pretty much as far as I got on the backstory. When he was 10 years old, this couple, I'm not sure how old or how young they looked, but they were adults, like this guy is. This is adult arms, adult feet, adult legs. So they were adult size. And they came to the orphanage, just want to check it out. I would say most of the other kids were excited, like, oh, here's a potential parents for me. Well, for Danny, he was like, I don't care. I have no hope. I have no hope that they're gonna look at me and adopt me. But little did they know, later that day, to make it short, they adopted him. And I'm still working on it, like their backstory. And so it's a man and woman. They're married or they're just together as a couple. So I've come up that they are refugees, and they're
Frameshift drive charging.
and in the long run, they'll be sort of residents on the fringes of Empire space. So they would have to be refugees from
3, 2,
they would have to be refugees from either the Alliance space or the Federation space. Though that would have to coincide with when each were founded. I'm pretty sure, because like when Danny was born, Danny was born 3275, where in 3306 he'd be 31 years old. And so I would have to. I'm pretty sure the Federation is already there, but the Alliance, I'm not sure about the Alliance when they were founded, if they were around back then. And so they would have to be refugees from either of those, because they can't be refugees from Empire space, as they're going into Empire space. But that's sort of like not the gradual, but the general sense. They could be refugees from an Imperial planet that is like, you know, under Zemina Torval, or governed by a superpower that allows Imperial slavery, or who abolish it. That could be the case. They could be refugees from one of the Devals, meaning they're sort of like the royalty in Imperial society, and also like a governing body.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh no! Did I just skip that one? I was so distracted, dude. Talking about this stuff, so I'm trying to think about things, but I still have to. I'm not sure. I think I just totally skipped that one. This is probably a G planet, though. G class. So this should be better. Oh my gosh. There's so many planets here. What's that? White type. Oh, okay. So the refugees, I'm not sure from where yet, but it's a good idea if they were like they came from an imperial. They came from an imperial. What's it called? Man, an imperial government, or a world where they abolished imperial slavery, and then found asylum, refuge in a system where the superpower actually allows imperial slavery, and thus they're sort of like, since they're refugees, they don't have much property or whatever. And thus, you know, have to go to into imperial slavery in order to pay off debt, or just, you know, build up funds so that they could own property. But yeah, so I haven't done much into that, but done much thinking into that. That's how the adoptive parentage is sort of supposed to be for Danny Vega. And there is like a little bit on like, so basically when Danny Vega starts his commander life in a Sidewinder, no less. He starts in 3301, and like I don't know, either before I thought he was going to, oh, what's it called, dude? What's it called? I'm still thinking. Oh yeah, he either go to Imperial Academy, but not for pilots. Thinking that he would rise up in the ranks, sort of an old-fashioned way, without the use of a ship, since he wasn't old enough, I guess, or he wasn't wise enough. I'm not sure. I still have to think about it. But ultimately, like I'm trying to build a story, build a backstory for Danny Vega that supports everything that happens after 3301. And what happens after 3301? It's basically what I remember playing this game. Starting, so he was aimless at first, then oh, maybe I'll do some power play. Maybe I'll do, or maybe I'll just go rise up to the ranks of Imperial Navy. So that's what he does. And then I think I've told the story before, but in a nutshell, he becomes a stowaway from it's weird, from orphan to refugee to graduate to Imperial recruit to stowaway to explorer. That's sort of like the route he took. Okay. Well, not to explore. He from stowaway to explorer, or no wait. He goes from a stowaway to in debt. Then he goes to explorer. Then he becomes a scout, and then he becomes an explorer again. Oh, okay. How long have I been streaming? An hour and 16. I've had maybe 4 views, which is fine. That's the most I've ever had for one stream. So sometimes the overlay is buggy, so it won't show me if I do have a viewer. But now it's working okay, so that's fine now. That's, so I could go on and on about roleplay, but I'm gonna get distracted and skip a system like I just did. So I don't know. Should I just leave the mic open, as they say? Like, if anybody wants to chat, if anybody has a question, or a comment, feel free to do so. I hope it shows up in the overlay. If it doesn't, it's too bad. And just leave a comment or something on the live chat portion of the Mixer. Oh. Okay. 6 more bodies and we're on to the next. I'll pose this question to anybody watching, either right now or offline. Have you ever played a tabletop game, like maybe Elite Dangerous RPG? Or maybe Monster of the Week? Like, another thing, I really enjoy listening to podcasts that is just like a group of friends or a group of colleagues playing D&D or Monster of the Week or D20, and just, you know, like with just their voices, just creating a story with in-depth characters, and then, you know, manipulating the world around them. That's basically the roleplay aspect of the thing, not just a gameplay aspect, but, you know, like, yes, we fly ships, we manipulate the galaxy, we either discover it, we destroy the inhabitants, like, you know, pirates and people with bounties. We mine the heck out of their asteroids, and we gain profits from the yield.
Frameshift drive charging.
But do our commanders actually have lives outside the gameplay? If they do, then you who are the commander, playing the commander, are basically giving them depth. so to speak. Giving them a backstory, giving them a history, giving them, like, if you go to Adara.cz, there's lots of law firms, and you know, sometimes you don't have to be like me who makes videos and tries to make a story with episodes, telling the story of my commander. You can be just like, you know, another commander who tends to not speak that well or refrains from speaking, but does speak in a different matter, like a text or a story, like a logbook. This is basically the logbook on Anara. There's stories that these commanders have. I did a logbook once, but it was hard. I had to think about what I was writing. Hard in the sense that, like, I didn't really have much commitment into it. Oh, there's two there. Alright, I'm sort of buckyballing this exploration. Nope, it's a useless icy body. Oh, I shouldn't say that if I'm an explorer. No one planet is useless. It's just like all these planets are, instead of useless, they're invaluable, not valuable. The financial sense. These are just like, you know, people avoid these. Avoid scanning them, but I would like to discover a whole system, please. That's what I'm doing. It was a good discussion, actually. I had an idea inspired by that stream from Drew Wager. And like, if I could, like, just like basically the content creators, and it could be any kind of content. It could be writing stories, writing books, or it could be making gameplay videos or episodic content, or it could be making like initiatives, like the current AXI initiative, anti-Xeno initiative, where I think they're collecting Thargoid materials, like Thargoid hearts. Is it heart? Or, I don't know. I'm not much into the Thargoid combat thing yet. There's an initiative started. It's sort of like a community goal, like a player-run community goal. Because Frontier are not doing community goals anymore. The initiative is to collect Thargoid materials and deposit them at a certain fleet carrier. So what was I saying right before that? So I was speaking on the DSSA, the fleet carriers, I believe. I don't know. That one has a lot of atmosphere. Oh, there we go.
System scan complete.
Planet 3. What we got? It's okay. It's this. Nope. Okay.
Frameshift drive charging.
It's a passable system, meaning people usually pass it by. No, I don't.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, happy July 4th, happy Independence Day for America. 20 Kelvin. That's cold. And still there's clouds forming on that planet. Alrighty then. That'd be cool. If we get space lags and we're on an atmospheric world, how are we gonna like mine for materials? Because thinking like with the airless world, there's no atmosphere present to burn up any incoming asteroids and rocks that may contain valuable materials. So, would there be? Oh, it does it with a visual eye candy. If there is like meteors in the sky, like say you're in the nighttime or the dark side of the planet, well, you'll be able to see meteor showers in the sky. Ooh, that'd be tight. That'd be really cool. And then to go beyond that, can we like sort of like follow the meteor shower in our ship, and to see where it landed, if it did land, if it did not get burned up by the atmosphere? That'd be cool. And therefore, would that sort of gameplay yield to a more because all the rock's gonna be burned off, and then what's left is what survives re-entry. And will it be a more valuable commodity, or you know, it'll be just like a sort of like a random event. It's like it's not like a feasible. Oh, this is what I'm gonna just do. I'm just gonna follow meters on atmospheric worlds, and that'll be how I make my money. No, it's not gonna be a get-rich-quick scheme. It'll be just like a random, you know, event. Like, oh, I wonder where that goes, and then if I find it, ooh, what will I get? Will I get some like a tier 5 material, if there is such raw vanadium or technetium, or if that, I'm not sure much about like asteroids and what they contain. Mostly they just contain like rock or ice or metal, and it's usually the basic metal, not like some rare can't be produced by man sort of element. Oh yeah.
System scan complete.
Next one, what's this? It's 22,000 helium atmosphere. Okay, I think we're done with the lore. Done with the lore section. If I do have an idea, I will speak it. But for the rest, it's stream. 17 minutes. I'll just do some exploring without any commentary. Well, that'll be something to do. I just thought of an idea. It's not about any lore. Well, no, it's not about space knights. It's not. It's gonna be sort of about lore. If once we dock and sell our data at the DSSA Ironside, I think I'm just going back to the bubble and just finding all the things. What's it called? All the tourist beacons. All the tourist beacons that there is. And all the listening posts and stuff, and all the data logs, not video logs, voice logs, text logs, audio logs. What other logs are there? Memory logs. Memory logs. Sorry, looking at dogs on Instagram. I had this idea for an episode where, like, last year or 2 years ago, Danny Vega went to the Sol System, not with his own ship. Not with his own ship, mind you. He went with a visitor's visa, or a tourist visa, and that's basically, you can't fly any ship from the cockpit. You can't operate any vehicle if it's like a commercial or military vehicle, not like an SRV. You can drive a car if they do have like rental companies, but he went to the Sol System, and he specifically went to Earth to visit not old, but basically Japan, how it is in Elite Dangerous. I'm not sure how different or the same it is, but I figure it's sort of like archived. The old history is now like sort of digitalized, but they still have the historical sites, historical lands, however ravaged they may be from war. There was a World War III, but I'm not sure like if Japan was part of it, if the land is glassed or changed in a dramatic way, or is it the same? Is it the same as Tokyo and rural Japan as we see it today? So my idea is that there was historical Japan. There were these historical sites like the Shinto shrines, the temples and all that, and most specifically the bamboo forests. I believe in, don't quote me on that, either I think it was Okinawa or Kyoto, one of those two. And then he visits it, and then like he witnesses like a dog, a Shiba Inu, which are purportedly like the canine mascot of Japan. Like, oh, that's so cute. I wish I had one on my ship. So I'm not alone out in the black. So like, and he meets somebody. Or like, oh. you know, you can have a robotic dog. Just, you know, just put in order and pick it up
System scan
and
complete.
pick it up in once we're done with it. I mean, once we're done, we finish manufacturing it, and then he then comes back. I would say like the story we continued over where Danny does his federal ranking, because he, like, if you look here, this is status. So he's Empire. He's a Duke, which means he can get the Imperial Cutter, but for the Federation, his rank is still a recruit. Oh, actually, it's 100% recruit, so I can do the next rank. But you need a certain rank in order to get the soul permit, and then so in this case, he would do ranking, promote himself in the ranks, and
Frameshift drive charging.
get an actual soul permit where he can fly his own ship into the soul system. He can navigate there, and then he goes. He lands on Earth or something, supposedly, or at the station, because his ship isn't rated for atmospheric re-entry or travel. So he docks at the station. I believe it's not Mars High, but it's like the Abraham Lincoln station. He docks there, and then oh, I had an order that was completed, and then somebody tells him, oh, you don't pick it up here. You pick it up in Shihei. Shihei is they have a rare commodity called I forgot what it's called. It was a robotic thing where they had master chefs, basically robotic chefs that, you know, can make you the best cuisine ever. But in my thinking, they had the Shihei sort of. It's I pronounce it Shihei. It's Xihe, and like he makes the order like, oh, can I have a robotic Shiba Inu? And then he goes to Shihei and picks it up, and then he has a dog companion, which will sound like, it doesn't have actually a physical one that is seen in the videos. In my thinking, it was like just dog sounds from behind the chair. It would be nice to have freaking pets when we have space legs. Okay, what are we looking at now? Okay. Eight minutes, guys. Was I talking for 9 minutes? Excuse me. That's potential terraformable. That's potential terraformable. Wow, what the heck? What is here? Usually there's something here. Wait, was I even done? No, I wasn't. What? I skipped one. Oh, okay. Oh, there it is. There's a pair of planets that are missing.
System
have no
scan
atmospheres.
complete.
All our atmospheres have been
Frameshift drive charging.
pushed out. I think this will be the last one. But is this something I jump into?
Four, three, two,
Okay, 26 minutes to finish scanning this one. Minutes. So many bodies. I don't know why these neon atmospheres, man. Bring electricity onto those things, they'll be glowing. What? How come it says 100% neon, but there is 0.00 atmospheres? How can that be? It's weird. Unless maybe it's a very, very little atmosphere, like 0.001.
System scan complete.
Ooh, Ammonia World. Oh, it's not that far. Nice. Actually, one right next to it. It's like really close.
Surface scanned by 50%. Surface scan complete.
I'm just gonna land on this little planet. Pushing, because it's right behind the planet. Behind the star. Oh, sorry.
Surface scanned by 50%. Surface scan complete. Orbital flight engaged.
Oh, I think they fixed something. They did. Good job, Frontier. They fixed that delay. Oh, never mind. No, they did fix it. Delay of my thruster sound. As I exit out of the glide. It's a long shadow. Happy 4th, happy Independence Day, guys.